Do do do. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum bum bum. Hey everybody. Everybody's a little bit slow coming in today. Looks like you had a big night of partying last night. Not me. I went to bed early. But for those of you who are here early, it's time. You know what it's time for? Oh, you know. You know it's coming. It's time for a simultaneous sip. Raise your mugs for victory. There's still time to make coffee. There will be more simultaneous sips. Somebody says they prematurely sipped. You prematurely sipped? That's okay. All right, today I wanted to talk about the worst punditry that I'm seeing about the North Korean situation. Now, the context here is that we've been all observing 2.5 years of the experts, the pundits, being wrong about pretty much everything. Just everything that had to do with Trump. And those same experts are now weighing in to sort of refresh our memories of their expertise by telling us what to worry about in North Korea, what the problem is, what they're really thinking, and all that. So I collected on this little notepad the dumbest things that people who are presenting themselves as commenters on North Korea are saying. Number one, they're saying, oh, we're playing right into their hands. The thing North Korea wants is prestige. What they want is a place on the table. So when we give them a meeting with President Trump, we're giving Kim Jong-un exactly what he wants. We're already losing. No. That is the dumbest thing that we're hearing. Because you know what? Do you know what is very unlikely? Now, I don't want to be the one who's reading minds, all right? But it seems very unlikely that when Kim Jong-un is maybe days away from being evaporated in a huge nuclear fireball, I mean, that's his actual reality. If you're Kim Jong-un, a month ago, you thought I might be days away from evaporating myself, my family, and my entire country in a giant fireball. And the pundits, the experts, are saying, what he really wants is to have a meeting. Nobody wants a meeting more than they want to not disappear in a giant nuclear fireball. Let me compare them again. I had a meeting, or I was annihilated in a giant nuclear fireball. Now, it might be true that he wants both of those things. He might want to have a good meeting with the president, because meetings are good. And he also might want to not die in a giant nuclear fireball any moment now. Okay? So when you're saying, that clever Kim Jong-un, he's really played us now. He got a meeting. A meeting. That's not the important thing happening here. The meeting, all right, is very important to get a result, but that's not the top of the top of his to-do list. Is like, well, what do I have to do today? Avoid mass destruction in a nuclear fireball, or get that meeting? All right. So let's stop talking about how clever he is that he got a meeting. That's not high on his priority list, I'm assuming. I can't read his mind, but I'm just going to say that nobody says, I don't care about that nuclear fireball, I got a meeting. All right. The other thing that people were saying is that we were on the brink of nuclear war. Were we? No, we weren't. We were on the brink of having a meeting. That's what we were on the brink of. And now that we know that he is willing to have the meeting, it's almost certainly true that we were never on the brink of him firing a nuclear weapon. It's almost certainly true that we were on the brink of him saying, let's have a meeting. Because that's what happened. We don't have to guess anymore. Now the guesswork is over. We know what he would do when pushed to the edge. He didn't launch. He called for a meeting because he's fairly reasonable. Here's some other dumb things people are saying. They're saying that Kim Jong-un might be stalling for time because that's what they've done in the past. And North Korea has said, hey, let's meet, but they were really just stalling for time so they could build their nukes. Nobody stalls for time when they're the ones who don't have time on their side. And you'll hear this phrase, doesn't have time on his side. You heard it first from me. I'm pretty sure, fact check this if you want to, but I'm pretty sure that months and months ago, I was the first person you ever heard say that President Trump has found a way to put time on his side when it has always been on the other side. And the way he did that was he choked their economy until it looks like now they're going to run out of hard currency. And at that point, they really don't have a country. All right. And that's probably going to happen in October. And something as big as a nuclear negotiation is going to take that long. Right. So all the people who say that Kim Jong-un is so clever, he's just playing us for time, that's okay, because there are only two ways this ends. We either get an agreement we like, or his entire economy gets choked off. And then later, we get an agreement we like. Only two possibilities. We get an agreement we like soon, or we get an agreement we like later. That's where we are right now. The other thing people are saying is, my God, what if Trump goes in there and says something that causes a nuclear war? Well, let me tell you what. The only people who are seriously worrying about that Trump will go in unprepared and say some things that make things worse and cause us to have a nuclear war, the only people saying that are the people who have been wrong about everything for 2.5 years. Everything. Those are the only people saying that. The people like me, and I imagine probably, Ann Coulter and, maybe Mike Cernovich, you could name a dozen other people, Bill Mitchell. Are any of them worried that Trump will go in and say something that blows up the world? No, because the people I just mentioned have been, for the most part, right about everything Trump for 2.5 years. So that group, not so worried, because it turns out that in person, President Trump is almost universally very effective. Even his critics will say that in person he's quite charming and effective. So, and then of course the major dumb thing that people have been saying about Trump forever is that he doesn't think ahead. Think about that now that we've seen a President Trump operating for quite a while now. Tell me that you could honestly say that this man doesn't plan ahead and that he's not doing things for strategic, smart reasons. You don't have to wonder anymore, because how many times have we seen him play the long game successfully? This where we are now with North Korea started quite a while ago, and the situation he set up was designed to get us right here. You can see it. You don't have to wonder. You can say, this is what he did a year ago in order to get us exactly to this point, and here we are. Is that impulsive? That's the opposite of impulsive. We're exactly where he wanted us to be. Look what he did with ISIS. He said with ISIS, we're going to, the big changes really were that he stopped focusing on regime change, which was sort of a fool's errand, and he told ISIS we're going to stay there forever, and he changed the rules of engagement. Those things were all well planned, well executed, so that a year later there would be no more ISIS territory. That's where we are. So once again, we've seen on his two biggest things, he planned pretty far in advance. Now you could say with stuff like tax policy, you don't need to plan years in advance to do that. You just want to cut taxes and then you see how it comes out. But where it mattered to plan ahead, such as, running for president, nobody planned ahead better than he did. He knew what to do in the beginning that got him all the way to the presidency. Let's drink to that. Oh, that's good. Take immigration. Do you think that Trump's plans, his comprehensive plans about immigration, everything from the wall that will take years to build to tightening immigration and improving our vetting, these are all super long-term things which for the most part do not solve today's problem. Most of what he's doing immigration-wise, from walls to vetting to you name it, are all super long-term plans. Nobody has ever been more opposite of impulsive than what we're observing, and we're all observing exactly the same stuff. How can you look at these super long-term plans, two of them that have already come in, the North Korea and ISIS have both turned positive. Meanwhile, 5 years from now, we're going to be looking at Europe overrun with immigration problems, and we're going to look at an America that doesn't have that problem, and probably a Russia and China that don't have that problem for the same reason we won't, because our borders will be quite secure. Kim saw what we did to ISIS. Yeah, unfortunately, he also saw what happened to Gaddafi, so he's got reasons to be concerned. Now, I'll tell you what we haven't heard much of. When North Korea started getting flexible, I believe the phrase that we heard was security guarantees. That was what they wanted in return for getting rid of their nukes. Security guarantees. How come there's not much conversation about that? We keep talking about what it would look like for him to denuclearize, and we get into some details about what that really means. But why aren't we talking about the other part? The part where we make a credible promise that as long as he does denuclearize, that he'll have security guarantees. Where's our side of that? Because it seems to me that's just as important. And it's not so much getting us to agree. The security guarantees are not about changing anybody's mind, because there's literally nobody who wants to conquer North Korea. I'm sure there's somebody, but the major countries do not want to own North Korea. But where are the details? What would that look like to have a security guarantee? Seems to me you just have to get the major powers together and have them simply guarantee that as long as there's no nuclearization and no shenanigans, no arming any terrorists, that sort of thing, that if they play well, they've got security guarantees. So it seems like there should be more talk about that. But until there is, let us lift our mugs to all of the long-term success. Good stuff. Is Kim not afraid of Russia at all? I don't think so. I don't think Russia wants to own North Korea, if that's what you mean. All right, I'm just looking at your comments. Is there undiscovered riches in North Korea? Yeah, I do wonder if North Korea has any natural resources that are valuable and also unexploited. Obviously, they don't have much in the way of oil. Uh, Putin interview? What about it? Oh, didn't Putin say some anti-Semitic things in an interview? I just don't know if I saw a source that I should trust. Yeah. But Stormy Daniels. All right. How many of you, since you're a little bit anonymous, not really, how many of you have Googled Stormy Daniels to see her doing her day job? If you know what I mean. How many of you have looked at an actual X-rated Stormy Daniels clip just because, hey, it's the news, you're allowed? Yeah. So it looks like I'm getting about 5 no's for every yes. Well, no, the yeses are maybe 1 out of 3. You know, I have to confess to a terrible curiosity about it. I won't reveal my own my own actions. Okay, I looked. I admit it. I looked. And it's funny. I think you probably had the same experience I do, which is in a world where pornography is, just universally available anytime you want it. It isn't really the excitement, it used to be. So looking at porn is just not as fun as it might have been when it was less available, I suppose. But I had to go look. I just had to look. I didn't look long. Total elapsed time, 15 seconds. But I could not look. I just had to look. So she's done a good job for her Me Too. I don't know if you saw that. Somebody just did hashtag Me Too. Congratulations on absolutely the worst use of the hashtag Me Too, which is what made it so funny. Nicely done. Oh, that's funny. Oh. Oh, wow. Oh, that was funnier than I expected anything to be this morning. Where do I think the meeting will take place? Good question. So it seems to me that the meeting will take place. It's got to be neutral territory, so it's not going to be, it's not going to be the U.S. It's not going to be North Korea. It's not going to be, well, it could be South Korea, couldn't it? So the question is, Kim Jong-un is going to worry that it's a trick. He's not going to want to leave the country and be somewhere where the bad guys can grab him. But he also probably doesn't want to fly too far. Because if you're Kim Jong-un, you don't want to be in an airplane for very long. Because that airplane might have a mechanical difficulty, if you know what I mean. So there are a lot of things that they're worried about mostly security, I would think, and mostly the problem would be on Kim Jong-un's side, because he might be worried that there's some trick to this. I don't think there is a trick to this, but he might be worried about it. So he's going to want his plane ride to be as short as possible for practical reasons. So what is a short plane ride from North Korea? That is also a place that the President of the United States could go fairly safely. So it's either going to be China, South Korea, not Japan, because of bad feelings, but it could also be I think there's some history of picking like an island, like Guam. Probably won't be Guam, but some island that's unaligned that it's easier to secure. So it might be just some weird little island that you would never think of that isn't too far away, as long as they can get all their assets there. We'll meet on border in a train. Meeting on the border in a train. It would be a good visual. Yeah, my house. Yeah, my house is available. I've got a couple of spare rooms. So if anybody wants to do it here, that'd be fine. All right. South Korea, too many bad feelings? Possible. But Kim Jong-un's sister went to South Korea, and from the point of view of North Korea, their long game is reunification. So under those conditions, you could imagine it would be in the DMZ, you could imagine it would be in South Korea. Those are both possible. Seychelles. Maybe. Maybe it's the Seychelles Islands. Will Kim Jong-un be frisked before he shakes hands with... That's interesting. All right. There are no other topics at the moment, right? Everything else is either Stormy Daniels or North Korea. That's pretty much what's happening at the moment. It looks like the DACA folks are in permanent limbo. Have I eaten at the French Laundry? I have. It's amazing. I didn't see Trump's speech, and I didn't see the New York Times article. I'm going to catch up on the news. That's all I've got for today. Hope you enjoyed your coffee. And there must be something about Chuck Todd that happened today I got to catch up on. Maxine Waters. Did the president make a low IQ joke about Maxine Waters? That's a keeper. Trump called Chuck Todd an SOB. Did he? I'd have to fact check that. All right. Bye for now.